AI is like the word on everyone's lips these days.
Yeah, it's everywhere you look.
But put them together, AI and podcast. OMG, AI.
Catchy, right?
Definitely attention grabbing.
Yeah, and it tells you something about how people see AI, you know?
Definitely a sense of buckle up.
A little bit of awe, a little bit of, oh my God, what's next?
Exactly. Makes you wonder if we're ready for a podcast like OMG AI.
Maybe, maybe not. All right, let's talk AI readiness. It's one of those buzzwords you hear everywhere these days. But what does it actually mean for business pros? You know, people like you. Well, today we're looking at a really interesting article, and we've got a white paper from Intel that we'll be using too. We're going to unpack all of it and answer that question.
You know, it's fascinating. Everyone's excited about what AI can do, but not enough people are talking about what happens when you jump in without a plan. It's like trying to build a house on sand. It's going to be a mess.
It really is. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And the article we're looking at today uses a perfect example. They talk about this company, Bright Lane Stores. They were so excited to optimize their supply chain. They invested almost $750,000 in this new AI system. It was supposed to manage their inventory, make everything more efficient.
Yeah, I think I read about that case. The Intel white paper actually talks about this kind of thing too. Like how companies don't prepare enough and then they hit all these roadblocks. They can't get AI to actually work, can't get the value from their investment.
Exactly. And that's what happened to Bright Lane Stores. They ended up with a system that didn't work at all. Their data was all over the place. Their IT systems couldn't handle it. All their employees were frustrated. And of course, it ended up costing them way more than they thought it would.
Ouch. Yeah, that's rough. That's what Intel calls a lack of foundational readiness. You have to have the right IT infrastructure, reliable data, the right software tools. All of that needs to be in place before you even think about using AI.
And the crazy thing is, Bright Lane Stores is not alone in this. The article says that 76% of businesses, a huge number, they don't even have an AI policy.
Wow, that's a scary thought.
It is.
So in the end, Bright Lane Stores, they had to give up. After 18 months, they just abandoned the whole project. And they spent over $1 million on this thing that totally failed.
It's not just about the money either, right?
Yeah.
The article talks about all these hidden costs, too.
Oh, right. Like what?
Like employee morale. Imagine how the employees felt after all that, And their customers probably lost trust in them, too. Plus, they lost all this momentum in the market because they were so focused on this failed AI thing.
Yeah, you can't forget about those aspects. That actually reminds me of another area from Intel's model. They call it operational readiness. It's all about having the right processes. Good governance, a real framework for managing these AI projects.
But it's like, are we saying businesses shouldn't invest in AI at all?
No, not at all. It's more about, being smart about it. AI isn't some magic solution. You need a good foundation to make it work.
Right, like you were saying, you can't just build a house on sand. And when these AI projects fail, it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Think about what it does to employee trust. If they see leadership pushing for AI and it blows up in their faces, they're going to be skeptical next time.
For sure, it creates this negative feeling around AI. It makes it seem like just another fad that's going to disappear. But when leadership really gets behind AI and they show everyone how it fits into the company's goals, that's when people start to buy in.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like leadership readiness is really crucial then. But we've talked a lot about the downsides. What about the good stuff? What happens when companies get this right? What are the positives?
Oh, that's when things get really exciting. When you're prepared for AI, you're not just avoiding problems. You're setting yourself up for huge potential. It's like having a super fast race car just waiting to go. But you need a good driver, a pit crew, and a track to race on.
I love that analogy. AI isn't about dodging bullets. It's about winning the race. It's about unleashing the power of AI to grow your business and innovate.
Exactly. And that's what we'll be digging into today. We'll unpack the different parts of AI readiness and talk about how businesses can prepare themselves strategically to really harness the power of AI in a way that's sustainable and effective,
Okay, let's do it. Let's take a closer look at this Intel AI readiness model. They talk about 4 key areas, right?
Yep, that's right.
We already touched on foundational readiness, but there's also operational, transformational, and leadership.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that they see these areas as connected. Success in one can really impact the others.
So it's not just a checklist, it's more like a whole system. Let's start with foundational readiness. For those of us who aren't tech experts, what does that really mean?
Well, think of it like building a strong foundation for a house. You need the right materials and support. So Do you have a good IT infrastructure? Can it handle AI workloads?
So just having a bunch of computers isn't enough.
Probably not. AI algorithms need a lot of processing power, and you need storage for all that data, and you have to keep it secure. These are all important things to think about.
Okay, so that's the IT side. What else is part of foundational readiness?
Data is another big one. Are your data sources reliable? Can you access them easily? Is the data in a format that AI can actually use?
So it's not just about having data, it's about having the right data and making sure it's organized and ready to go.
Exactly. You know what they say? Garbage in, garbage out. If your data is messy, you're not going to get good results from AI.
That makes perfect sense. And what about software tools? We mentioned those before.
Right, so that includes the platforms and stuff you need to work with AI, like libraries for machine learning, tools for visualizing data, cloud computing platforms, all of that. These are the tools that let you build and train AI models and then use them effectively.
This is starting to sound a little overwhelming, to be honest.
I get it, it can seem like a lot, but the main thing to remember is foundational readiness is about having all the pieces in place before you start building your AI house.
Okay, so it's all about setting the stage, making sure we've got a solid foundation to build on. But once we've got that, what's next?
Then it's time to look at operational readiness. Think of it like, can your business actually use AI in its day-to-day work?
So we've got the tools, but now it's about knowing how to use them, how to make them work within the company, right?
Yeah, exactly. Can your teams actually handle AI projects? Do they have the skills to manage the data, train the models, all of that?
It sounds like we need the right people as much as the right technology. Our listener might be thinking, I'm not a tech person. How does this apply to me?
You're right. It's not just about the tech. It's about having the right people, the right processes, the right oversight. The Intel white paper talks about this too. They say you need a clear plan for how these AI projects will be run, how they'll be started, how they'll be managed, how they'll be tracked. It's about making sure everything lines up with your business goals.
So AI shouldn't be some side project. It needs to be part of how the company works.
Exactly. And that leads us to the third area in Intel's model, transformational readiness. This one's a bit more, well, I guess you could say philosophical.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does transformational readiness even mean?
It's about whether your company is ready for the changes AI will bring.
Changes? Like what kind of changes?
Well, think about how AI can automate things. Are your employees ready for their roles to change? Is your company culture flexible enough to adapt to new ways of working?
So AI isn't just plug and play, it changes how we do things.
Right. It's a whole shift in mindset for individuals and for the company as a whole. Transformational readiness means preparing your workforce for the future. It's about learning new things, adapting, and using AI to your advantage.
This makes me think back to Brightline stores. The article said they had trouble getting their employees on board. There was resistance, confusion. People didn't understand how AI would affect them.
That's a perfect example of what happens when you ignore the human side of AI. It's not just about the tech, it's about bringing people along on the journey. And that's where leadership readiness is so important.
Right, we talked about leadership before, but how does it connect to all these other areas?
Think of it this way. Leaders set the example for everyone else. If they're excited about AI, if they have a clear vision, and if they provide the resources to make it happen, that trickles down through the whole company.
So it's not just saying AI is cool, let's do it. It's about having a strategy, a direction, a culture that embraces AI.
Exactly. Leadership readiness means encouraging people to use data, to experiment, to explore what AI can do. The Intel white paper has a bunch of examples, companies where strong leadership led to successful AI adoption.
Okay, so we've got these four pillars: foundational, operational, transformational, leadership. They all work together. It's a whole approach to AI. But let's get out in the theory for a second. The Intel white paper you mentioned, it has some real-world examples, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's one about a solar energy farm using AI to spot damage. They were already taking pictures of their equipment, looking for problems, but they wanted to see if AI could automate that whole process.
That sounds perfect for AI. Were they ready for it, though?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? They had the data, but their IT systems weren't quite up to snuff. They had the idea, but their foundational readiness wasn't there.
I bet a lot of companies are like that. They've got these great ideas for using AI, but they haven't done the groundwork.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to take a step back. Figure out if you're ready before you jump into AI. There's another example in the paper about a financial services firm. They were using AI for something called algorithmic trading.
Algorithmic trading. Now, I'm not a finance expert, so You'll have to explain that one.
Sure, no problem. Basically, it's using computer programs to make trading decisions based on all sorts of market data, and it happens super fast. It needs a ton of computing power and really sophisticated data analysis. That's where AI comes in.
So it's like having a super smart computer making trades for you. What happened with this firm? Did their AI work?
They had a good prototype, but they couldn't get it to work on a larger scale. They had trouble moving it from a single computer to a whole data center.
So even if AI works on a small scale, it can be hard to make it work for the whole company.
Exactly, and that's a common problem. Companies can experiment with AI, but they struggle to actually implement it. The white paper says it's because they often lack the operational readiness. They don't have the systems in place to manage these bigger AI deployments.
These examples are really helpful. They show how AI readiness, or the lack of it, plays out in the real world. And it seems like this Intel model applies to any industry, not just tech companies.
Absolutely. The principles are universal. Whether you're in finance, energy, healthcare, whatever, you need to prepare your organization for AI.
Okay, so we've talked about why AI readiness matters. We've looked at the Intel model. We've seen real-world examples. But our listener might be wondering, what can I actually do about this?
That's a great question. And luckily, there are resources out there to help. One of the articles we read mentioned an AI readiness app. It's made by a company called Undesto.
An AI readiness app. Tell me more. That sounds interesting.
It basically helps you figure out how ready your company is for AI. It looks at 4 areas: leadership, operations, innovation, and customer focus. You answer some questions, and it gives you a score.
So it's like a test. Pass or fail.
It's more than that. It also compares your score to other companies in your industry.
Oh, so you can see how you stack up against your competitors. That's helpful. You know where you stand.
Right. It gives you context. And the best part is, it doesn't just give you a score. It gives you advice on how to improve.
So it's like having a personal AI consultant.
Exactly. It breaks down all the complicated stuff and gives you a clear path to follow.
That sounds really useful. So the Undesto app focuses on leadership, operations, innovation, and customer focus. How do those connect to the 4 areas from the Intel model?
Good question. They're similar, but the Undesto app focuses more on the business side of AI.
So it's still about being ready for AI, but it's looking at it from a business perspective.
Exactly. The main point is, no matter what system you use, the first step is to figure out where you stand. Once you know your strengths and weaknesses, you can start planning.
It sounds like this Undesto app could be really helpful for that. But before we get into that, we've talked a lot about the risks of not being ready for AI. What about the benefits? What happens when you get it right?
Great question. When you're ready for AI, you can really unlock its full potential. You're not just avoiding problems, you're setting yourself up to win.
So what does that look like? What are the advantages?
For one, you can adapt to new opportunities faster. The world of AI is constantly changing. There's always something new. Ready businesses can embrace those changes, stay ahead of the curve.
So they're not just keeping up, they're leading the way.
Exactly. They're the innovators, the ones pushing the boundaries.
AI readiness is more than just using some new tools. It's about being agile, being innovative, being willing to change.
You got it. And that adaptability is essential in the world of AI. Remember that statistic from the Intel white paper?
The one about businesses only having 1 year to implement AI strategies.
That's the one. It shows how quickly things are moving. The companies that invest in AI readiness now will be the leaders tomorrow.
So if you wait, you'll be left behind.
That's the reality. The companies that are preparing for AI today will be the ones shaping the future.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
It is. The stakes are high.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the AI readiness app. I think it could be a great resource for our listener as they start thinking about their own AI journey.
Let's dive into that app a little more. Talk about its features and how it can help businesses like our listeners. But first, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you looking to upskill your team in AI? Check out your Academy AI. Their expert AI training team has enabled some of the world's top companies to effectively adopt AI. Your team gains critical skills that lay the foundation for responsible innovation. From AI fundamentals, AI policy governance and ethics, to AI tool evaluation and building AI agents. To learn more, visit the link in the show notes.
All right, we're back. And we were talking about this AI readiness app. It sounds really interesting, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how it works. You said it looks at leadership, operations, innovation, customer focus. But how does it actually measure those things?
It's pretty simple, actually. The app asks you a bunch of questions tailored to each area. Like for leadership, it might ask about your company's vision for AI. How does leadership communicate that vision? Are there resources dedicated to AI projects? Stuff like that.
So it's making you think critically about how your company approaches AI.
Exactly. And it does the same thing for operations, innovation, customer focus. The questions really get you thinking about your processes, your company culture, and how AI can improve the customer experience.
Okay, so you answer all these questions, and then what? You get a score, right?
Yeah.
But then you also said it compares you to other businesses.
Yeah. Right. That's the cool part. Seeing your score is one thing, but it's more helpful to see how you compare. The app shows you benchmarks for your industry, so you know if you're ahead, behind, or right on track.
That makes sense. It gives you some perspective.
Yeah.
So let's say our listener tries the app, they get their score, and maybe they're a little behind in one area. Does the app just say, tough luck?
No, not at all. It actually gives you specific advice on how to improve. Based on your strengths and weaknesses, it might recommend some resources, some best practices to follow, even concrete steps you can take to boost your AI readiness.
Wow, it really holds your hand through the process. I could see how this would be helpful for any business leader.
Absolutely. It takes the mystery out of AI readiness, and it gives you a clear plan to follow.
So where can our listener find this app?
It was mentioned in one of the articles we read. I think the author included a link to the developer's website.
Awesome. We'll definitely include that link in the show notes. Well, I think we've covered a lot today. We've talked about AI readiness, the Intel model, real-world examples, and we even found a tool to help businesses get ready for AI.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion. Hopefully our listener feels more prepared to navigate the world of AI.
Exactly. AI is here to stay. It's changing everything. The companies that embrace AI readiness will be the ones that succeed.
No doubt about it, the future belongs to those who prepare.
So to our listener, we encourage you to take what you've learned today, explore the resources we've talked about, and start your own AI readiness journey.
It's a journey worth taking.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of AI.